exciting days ahead for Louisville football as they continue to kind of stock the portal or stock the roster full of high school guys who are going to be capable contributors essentially right away. So Keith has been begging for them to start recruiting, and Coach Brohm and the recruiting staff has clearly listened. So thank you all for tuning into the show, Keith. Your hard hours of talking recruiting have not gone unrecognized, my friend. So. From the Pink Seats podcast is back. I know it is in the heat of basketball season, but there is plenty to talk about on the football side. Jacob Lane, producer Keith, Vince Licoco from the Pink Seats podcast. Excited to talk ball tonight. And if you're not already, subscribe to the show right here, right beneath us. You can do that right now on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed on audio platforms, anywhere you get your podcast, subscribe to From the Pink Seats podcast. Boys, how we doing? It's great to see you all.
Doing great. And Jacob, just to reiterate the point, if you watch us but you don't subscribe, that's like saying we're the 10th best podcast in the country, but giving us an 8 seed in a tournament of 68.
I like that. That's a juicy start to the show.
Good analogy. I'm great. You and Presley, bro, y'all have been killing it on the basketball side with all the streams and stuff you're doing with the circle. So it is dope to watch and to be able to sit courtside, I guess you could say, for some of that stuff. And it's dope what you guys are doing. So I get we're a football show, but definitely want to give you guys, can't delay gratitude. Isn't that what they say?
That's right.
Look at us. Look at me and Keith.
Basketball references tonight on the football side. But shout out to Vince. 2 nights of basketball streams, over 5 hours of basketball content. The word foul mentioned 500 times.
I saw the most aggressive. Whenever the screen hit and I got up, you turned around. Your head. Yeah.
I knew it immediately.
So quick. Yeah.
Vince. The one thing I have for critique of Vince on the streams. Got to work on that golf swing, buddy. I saw a couple of those shots.
Rude.
It did not go great.
Rude. That is so rude. We're going to start critiquing. That's like your art teacher critiquing your drawing capabilities. Like, you're supposed to give me an A for that. That's fucking bullshit.
That's what the A and effort's for.
My swing was so good they couldn't even air it. I mean, it was disqualified from making it.
I'll paint you a visual like we do for Vince's game notes. Roll the Vince's game notes for that. Yeah, welcome to
Ribbon Candy.
Yes. Jacob had it teed up, man. He was ready. I gave him my biggest Big Bertha club to swing, a club I have in my bag. I don't use often, but it's been passed down multiple generations, so it's still a cool club. He did the classic, just hit the tee. I mean, tee goes
right underneath the ball.
Ball just goes wham, straight down to the bottom. And I mean,
that's after I whiffed the first 2 times. And then eventually drove it about 3 feet into the rough off the tee box. So no, not a great. I am an athletic specimen in many ways. I've been called that a number of times, but no one has ever accused me of being a good golfer. In fact, Presley Meyer, as we all know, is our resident golfer. Calls me the worst golfer he's ever seen. And I mean this quote word by word, worse than a toddler. So there you go.
That doesn't make much sense because, I mean, it's really on Presley because he should be teaching you how to properly swing.
He can't. No, he gave up years ago. He tried, and then I just made fun of him for bringing his own clubs to Topgolf.
See, you can't do that.
Right. See,
me and Presley, you better hope we're not on the 3rd floor because me and Presley are going to throw you off for making fun of you.
Insecurity, man. Insecurity. Well, let's talk football. There is a lot to get into tonight. Louisville football, ACC, recruiting, around the NFL, a lot of big storylines, or at least storylines worth following. And while, we're still waiting to see spring ball, what's going to happen with the team. They're in, a period right now of not having practices open to the public. We'll see in the next couple of weeks what that looks like as we get closer to the April 11th spring game. But for now, we're just kind of left to fill in the gaps with some of the content that's out there and some of the storylines. As I mentioned, recruiting a big deal right now. We'll get into the meat and potatoes of that tonight on the pod. We're also going to talk through some of the ACC storylines that are out there in a new segment called What Are You Talking About? And then we'll also play a new game tonight. We teased this several weeks ago, and we're going to bring this to reality tonight. You're familiar with the game Who He Play For. If you've watched Inside the NBA on TNT, We're going to spin it our way where he play at. We will debut that tonight, and I will quiz these guys on where the myriad of Louisville football players have transferred over the years, including one who we're still trying to get our researchers on this, may have more eligibility, who was around or at least around when Vince was around. So we'll really test Vince's football knowledge tonight. I can't wait for this. It'll be great. But fellas, the NFL is really the place to start if we're not talking about me shirtless on the stream, which we talk about the energy. Like if you watch that stream and then you watch our show, it's been very few moments, Vince, on this show where that energy has come out. The ESPN studio is one, right?
Yeah.
Like it has happened from time to time. The From the Pink Seats energy was transferred into basketball on that night, and I just hope I made you boys proud.
Immensely proud. Loved it.
I'm glad.
Well, I mean, I wasn't paying attention to the stream. I was actually not even allowed to be watching that game because I was watching it double dogs and doing my part to help the team. We were losing while I was watching. We come back and win as I'm not watching. So I'm sitting there and I'm going back. I'm just scrolling Twitter at this point. I'm just like refreshing Twitter like crazy. And I just start seeing rounds of shirtless Jacob. And like,
my belly is now on our Instagram feed permanently. If you want to know what my belly button looks like, you can go look right now.
All I have to say on that is football season. I guess we got to get ready for that because you're going to be doing some crazy stuff. I guess you're a designated crazy guy on the pod.
Designated crazy guy. I might get up after a few beers and try to go toe to toe with Keith and some kind of blocking in front of everybody. We'll see. But if you don't know, we're talking about the Floyd Street Media streams and watch-alongs for Louisville basketball. We've been doing those the last couple of weeks, partnering up with them. The expectation is that it's going to continue on into football, so stay tuned for that. Other news, Mekhi Becton, Tutu Atwell, Lamar in the NFL. We talked about some NFL headlines going around. Some guys moving around, some guys staying, some guys getting some new backups. Mekhi Becton, shout out to Mekhi, has been trying to bounce back from injury and rough start with the Jets, and now to winning the Super Bowl and being like the big the moment he had where it's just playing with his son. Yeah,
that was
right.
Awesome.
Now he is getting to cash in on that and signs a new deal with the Chargers where he'll go into a run-heavy offense where he is built to thrive. Vince, you got to love this fit for Mekhi Becton.
So, I initially was really wanting him to stay in Philly because, obviously the run game there, the offensive line coach fits so well personality-wise with all that group of core 5 offensive linemen.
Big Dom.
Big Dom.
Can't forget about Big Dom.
If you have any chance of a contact to meet Big Dom, obviously you want to have that. But
if we ever get Mekhi on the show, Vince won't want to ask about the Super Bowl. Vince won't want to ask about, what it was like playing with Lamar. His question will just be, what's up with Big Dom? What's he up to these days, man?
We'll alternate questions, and each one of mine will be like, so can you FaceTime him?
What's he up to? You know what he's doing?
But this is once I saw the Chargers, I immediately Joe Alt, first person comes to mind, tip of the spear, Coach Harbaugh. I couldn't be more excited for him right now. He gets a little bit of stability too with 2 years on his contract.
Yep.
So
don't they have Rashawn Slater too out in LA?
Yeah.
Oh man,
that's somebody else. Yeah, they got a nasty offensive line.
Oh my god,
Greg Roman is licking his chops, boys.
Exactly.
Are you kidding me? We're running the ball 42 times this game, including with the quarterback.
Exactly, but he goes again. It's not like he has some, not to shit on Zach Wilson, our potential starting quarterback for the Fins, Keith, but it's not like he's protecting Zach Wilson out there. He's protecting Justin Herbert, who's a legit quarterback, knows how to maneuver the pocket. He just got done protecting Jalen Hurst, who's a legit quarterback, knows how to maneuver the pocket. So all these things, I'm just happy he's found a really good organization and a team that is, willing to use him in the right spots.
Yeah, I think he's going to be, if he is healthy, and that's, obviously with the last couple of years, that's a big if. He proved a lot this year with Philly, but look, I think you're talking about a guy that could be a Pro Bowl player there. That is a hand-in-glove fit for what he does and what they want to do between Harbaugh and Greg Roman. We know what that looks like. We know what they did this past year with J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards.
Right.
They're reloading at that position. They're getting better at the wideout position. They're really building a formidable offense around a damn good football coach. And I think that they're a dark horse Super Bowl contender. And Mekhi Becton, again, if he's healthy and he's out there, I think that he's going to play a big role in what they do on the ground.
Never go wrong signing a great offensive line. We saw the Eagles just win a Super Bowl kicking all kinds of ass in the trenches. So never going to critique that if that's your means of team building.
It's
that's
pretty
right.
sick to see. I know you love it too, Keith, because I love it. The NFL just shifting back to being a upfront offensive, defensive line centric league. I mean, it's always been that when you boil football down, when you really, boil it down when it comes to football. But I mean, it's becoming even more of an emphasis now to just because you can't block Jalen Carter and these other dudes that Philly had like that. You just can't. So,
in other news with Louisville players, Tutu Atwell staying in Los Angeles. He's never really developed into a go-to guy. He's been more of a kind of secondary piece for them. He stepped up when there's been injuries to Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua and some of the other guys that they've had on their roster. And he's played well when called upon. But Tutu Atwell sticking around in L.A. Would like to see him evolve more. Kind of is what he is at this point in terms of the size and speed. Vince, what do you think about Tutu sticking around for another year with the Rams with Stafford, who structured his deal?
I love this. I mean, they were almost forced to obviously play Cooper Kupp, to play Puka, to force these big name guys that they've paid a lot of money and stuff to, or are getting ready to invest a lot of money into, force them onto the field in a lot of ways and force them to get the ball. But I mean, Tutu's going to be given an unreal opportunity here coming up to take advantage. I mean, he's taken advantage of all the opportunities that he was given by LA before this. So, I mean,
yeah.
I won't be surprised. I'm not expecting him to be their number one guy. You mentioned secondary, Jacob. Like, he was really more like third, fourth. Like, if you really want to think about it, I would put him in a flex spot for fantasy.
You catch lightning in a bottle every couple of weeks with him.
That was the perfect. Well, whenever Cooper Kupp and Puka were out, he's the perfect 12 to 15 point guy for you,
right?
Every single time. So I think Tutu could definitely step into a solid 2 spot to help out with Puka, and obviously having Matt Stafford throw you the ball doesn't ever fucking help.
Keith, you got any thoughts on Tutu Atwell sticking around?
He's like 60 at this point.
He is, but he's still a damn good quarterback. Man.
Matt Stafford, when I think he separated his non-throwing shoulder, but then there was a timeout, so he was able to go back in and convert a 2-point conversion to win a game for the Lions when they were dog dookie that year.
Yeah,
he's a dog, and I'm always going to have a soft spot for him just because he's a tough dude, but
he's held together by the criticisms of his wife's podcast, man. At this point, that is all it is. That keeping his career together, she can't be more famous than him. And I love the NFL Centel version of their whatever that account is. It's Kelly Stafford is ruining Matt Stafford's chances of playing with the Rams because she's spilling too much information. Anyways, great storyline.
Did you guys know that Matthew Stafford and Clayton Kershaw played high school baseball together? Whatever that is, that they love to pop. That'll be at least once or twice a year.
Yeah, it's like the Chris Mack's wives from Louisville. Her family. Yeah, it's that same storyline. Yep. The only other thing I would say, I love for Tutu to stay with continuity. Obviously, he's comfortable with the role there, but I feel like there are other teams that could potentially utilize him maybe in a different way within a more a different style of offense. Not that a Sean McVay offense isn't the most creative offense in the NFL. We've seen it time and time again. He's playing for one of the brightest minds potentially ever to coach the football team. I mean, the guy is incredible. But there are teams that take guys like Tutu and, just throw them in different places instead of just being solely in the slot. They might put him in the backfield. They might, use some more of the pop passes and just try to use him in different ways. I think the Rams have gotten comfortable with what Tutu is, but there's really no evolving his role at this point, and it would have been nice to see. But, from this point on, he's a guy that's a vet now, right? That's crazy to say, but he's a vet.
Tutu Atwell is an NFL vet.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the point where I think he's more than happy to stay with the Rams just because that's home to him. That's where he's made his career. And honestly, unless you are a superstar level veteran player, with the way salary caps are nowadays, you don't see too many just veteran 30 through 50 guys on the lineup. So for him to be able to continue to play at a level high enough that warrants a veteran contract, hell yeah.
Right. And I was looking up, just thinking about guys from that roster, like Malik Cunningham's still an NFL guy.
Yeah, right. Still with the Ravens, right?
That's
still
awesome.
with the Ravens, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah,
and then Des Fitzpatrick with the Chargers also played last year.
I think both of those guys are the 1-year contract. We'll pick you up in the
right. I mean, Des has been on a futures contract for the last 4 years and continues to finish the year on a regular season roster. So he's a vet. Tutu's a vet. Mekhi's a vet, right? These guys have gone on and, figured out their NFL careers. Last thing here on the NFL front is Lamar Jackson, been in the news this week. They got, the Ravens have gone out into free agency, acquired some new wide receivers, one of them being DeAndre Hopkins, as well as a backup and Cooper Rush. Very interesting, right? If you want to, you really want to throw defenses off, we got Lamar Jackson as our starter and we're going to throw sneaky athletic Cooper Rush at you as a backup. What do you guys have any thoughts on Cooper Rush?
I mean, same with D-Hop, man. It's like, I mean, what do you remember D-Hop for last year? Dropping the ball in the Super Bowl.
That's not fair, though. Nuke Hopkins has had a long
What
career.
have you done for me lately? What have you done for me lately? You dropped a ball in the Super Bowl when I needed you to, when I needed you not to. But
I did see this graphic. I'm trying to see if I can pull it up here on my computer, and I don't think. Oh, let's see if I think this might be it. But I did see that there was this graphic that was shared that the Ravens wide receiver unit has been labeled as the graveyard because it's where legendary wide receivers go to die. Okay, are you ready for this list?
Oh, yeah. This is
Des Bryant, Deshaun Jackson, Steve Smith Sr. out there rearranging IUDs, Odell Beckham Jr., Jeremy Maclin, Anquan Bolden, and DeAndre Hopkins.
Anquan Bolden was good in Baltimore. I don't want to hear that.
Didn't Steve Smith have a couple of good years in Baltimore also?
He had a couple decent ones. Yeah. OBJ is the funniest one, though. Like, I remember when on Twitter, you'd always see who gonna stop this offense?
Yeah, right.
It's like the fucking
arthritis
injury. Yeah.
That year, I'll never forget that I decided to keep Odell Beckham as a keeper in my dynasty league because I'm like, oh, Odell Beckham. What do you mean with Lamar Jackson? Of course he's going to ball out. I think he had like 4 catches, man. I
mean, like Lamar has had very little success, in my opinion, throwing to receivers that are like shorter than 6 foot.
Yeah.
I mean, like, just think about it. Like Hollywood, Trey Samuel.
But he's got Zay Flowers, right? What's he like 5'9", 5'10"?
Yeah, that's why.
Not exactly like Mark Andrews.
Every single one.
Yeah, right.
Not exactly like Mark Andrews went so well the last couple times he threw to him.
All right, that'll put a completion there to the NFL talk. Let's move into recruiting because that is the topic of the hour, and we're going to start by forcing Keith to eat a crow. So, Keith. Are you ready? Did you get that crow from the store? Did you get it?
Oh, let me see if I can find some sort of bird. Like I am so
careful now.
Well, plus that's Mark Ennis's gimmick. I don't want to step on his toes too much. But
I say that you got to eat crow because for a reason, and I hope you're catching on here. It doesn't.
Yeah, I'm thrilled with how the high school recruiting's gone. Now, I will say. I never said we can't do it. I was furious because we weren't doing it. But
that's right.
The last time we recorded, we talked about a few prospects and players who were taking visits to campus. And then the day after we record, commitment after commitment after commitment rolls in. And we've gotten 5 commitments in the last week. We had 4 over a 3-day span, which was absolutely electric. And I want to offer a huge shout out to the most recent commitment as of this recording, Evan Hampton, for committing before we start the recording so we could actually talk about the fact he's committed.
18 minutes before the show starts to record. Shout out to Evan Hampton. He might be my favorite commitment of all time. And that is just timely news right there.
But in all seriousness, Brady, like, shoot us a text. Hey, bro, if you guys are about to like record one, we got 3 on the way. So just
come on,
hold off.
Just a little heads up, man.
But no, Evan Hampton. So consensus 4-star running back out of Owensboro High School, local kid. And he is nice. Over 20 offers from P4 programs alone. Some of the ones I just listed, playoff teams like Indiana and Penn State. Michigan made a late charge to try and get this kid. Bill Belichick took a swing at this kid. And
he's also taken a swing at beach yoga. Have you seen that out there?
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen the pictures of Bill Belichick? He's my man.
Shannon
having
Sharp
a midlife crisis.
Shannon Sharp was cooking him on purpose.
But Hampton, he is a very unique kid. Like, he's got, I'll say, good, not elite speed. Like, not Isaac Brown, but pretty damn quick. Especially, I'm not going to use the phrase, but others would describe him as deceptively fast. But he's got wiggle with it. He's got nice wiggle. If you're watching it, like, watch his highlight reels on Huddle, he's got nice wiggle. He's got enough speed to where he's going to get away from bigger players who don't have elite speed. And for the players that do catch him, this kid isn't afraid to lower the shoulder. Like, there are clips in there of him just bulldozing kids or throwing mean stiff arms, knocking kids to the ground that would make the late Marion Barber blush. I love this kid's game. Like,
is he more Peyton Hillis or Danny Woodhead? Or Christian McCaffrey?
He leads more on the CMCs. I mean, like, if you're going to make any of those
Scatterbo?
three, yes,
Like,
that's a good comp.
If he turns into Cam Scatterbo,
I mean, like he said, like his yards after contact, that initial, because playing, I'm not sure what class Owensboro is, but playing out where he does, obviously going to play some lesser talented schools. So I would expect him to run through every single one of those arm tackles or BS, kids that don't train football like how he's trying to train football, essentially. I believe it's another future. I believe he's a Future Stars kid. So shout out Rico Hughes on that one, sending us more kids.
He ran for, I think, close to 1,700 yards last season.
Yeah.
So, yeah, putting up the numbers.
Well, I mean, his highlight tape looks exactly how it should be of a kid of his caliber playing football for Owensboro. I mean, I'm very excited. Like Keith mentioned, his speed, it's the yards after contact for me. Like, that stuff gets me fired up. When I watched his highlight tape, I was like, oh yeah, this is something that Jeff is going to absolutely love to work with.
Yeah, and with the level of talent we're recruiting, like, this kid's good enough to be a primary running back at a P4 program. If we continue to recruit the running back position like we have at Louisville, for him to be a piece in a stable, it might be unfair.
These are the kids you're supposed to get, like, in the state. These are the kids you don't let walk to Kentucky, you don't let walk to Purdue, or if they somehow end up at other surrounding school, Marshall or whatever, Indiana. Like, you can't let kids like this walk to those schools. These are ones you have to keep at Louisville.
Yeah,
right. And I would argue that you keep them from the Michigans and Notre Dames the best you can, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I get it. Not every player is going to have an A+ proximity to home. For all my college football recruiters out there. But for the ones that do, you better bet your ass. You better go. If they're good enough and you identify them as somebody that fits your roster and your scheme, you better go out there and win that battle. That's the thing. It shouldn't even be a competition in my mind. And take that for being a hot take or not. That's just the way that it goes. You should be able to walk into a house in the state of Kentucky if you're Jeff Brohm and be able to win that recruitment 9 out of 10 times.
So
just that one time is definitely out in, like,
it's when somebody's going to Stanford or
I was thinking like coal miner country, like those guys are definitely going to UK,
right? Now that's right. That's
I'd say
point.
West Virginia is a contender out there too. But
to
wrap up Evan Hampton though, 6 foot, 210 pounds as a high schooler. That's a whole lot of meat hitting you on the open field, especially moving as quick as he does. Let that kid get into our strength and training program. Vince, would you like to tackle 6 foot, 225?
I'm laughing at, like, that's a whole lot of meat.
I know. I'm trying to be a professional and move you past this.
I know.
I can't do that.
All right, what else we got?
But you mentioned the kid's weight, that he definitely can squat. Like, kids out in that area, he's squatting a house right now. Like, that's
what else they got to do out in Owensboro, right? They're just squatting houses, man.
Well, that's what separates these kids. Like, the kids that want to be great, it's hard to be great, but I mean, he just applies himself and you can see it, and it's cool. It's cool to be able to see.
Right. You run the football and then move hay bales at night. Right. Exactly. All right, Keith, what else we got?
All right.
In terms of the commitments, man.
So We got a duo of commitments, a pair of 3 stars from St. X High School out here.
Is that
I know
St.
Vince
X
is
Cincinnati? Is that
No, that's not St. X Cincinnati. Vince, you might have a little bit of familiarity with the St. X program, right?
Well,
they
Vince,
have familiarity with me.
I want to take this moment. We got you a special gift. Here, give me the box. We got you a jersey. I'm just kidding. But I was in a couple of years we'll actually make that.
I do have a St. X jersey in my.
No, we'll
in
make
my
that.
house.
We'll make that reality when we get you one of these kids' jerseys,
Nope,
man.
you'll appreciate it. I got a Vic Anderson jersey. Don't
There
worry
we go.
about it.
Okay.
That is approved. That is approved.
I have a
All right,
number
so what do we
30
got from
St.
St.
X,
X?
Vic Anderson.
Yeah, so first off, Marlon Harbin, if I mispronounced that, I apologize. He's a 3-star, listed as an athlete. Played running back, played wide receiver, and played defensive back. Watching his tape, I think he's probably going to go down the wide receiver route for Louisville, just looking at how recruiting's shaken up and what he can do. But that type of versatility, when you just have a kid who's just a damn good football player, you can never get enough of those in a program. Personal opinion.
Another future stars kid.
I love that. I also love the production for him this year. Mostly came at running back, but you saw, that he had 18 touchdowns this year for St. X, and what was a fairly certain, right, a pretty good year for them. I don't keep up with high school football, but didn't they beat Trinity, right?
I don't think they won state though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vince moving that goalpost, baby.
Right. But no, I think this kid, talented, is playing at a big time, one of the big time football programs in the area. Maybe not as big as some of the other programs, but he is
like
a
Eastern.
kid that it's got like Eastern High School, or even Owensboro, right? But no, Marlon is a kid that is going to bring a lot of athleticism, a lot of speed, and the ability to, as you mentioned, be very versatile. And he might not play defensive back, but you might see him out there, potentially fielding punts, returning kickoffs, right? Like being able to display some of that skill and being able to then go out and maybe play wide receiver or catch the ball out of the backfield and, one of those orbital roles or, some of the things we talked about with Tutu. So I think that while he's not necessarily a small guy, he's a guy that, you can put him in the slot, you can put him outside, you can do a lot of different things. I like what he brings to Louisville. I love keeping these local kids home, man.
I love this grab. All jokes aside, the kid's a stud. I've watched him play in person. He's a beast out there. Like you mentioned, Jacob, I wouldn't mind seeing him somewhere in the slot. Like offensive, if I had to put him offensively somewhere, put him in the slot where you can really move him around and potentially get him those handoffs out of the backfield, the quick tosses, quick pitches, things like that, would play in his favor as well with him having that familiarity of playing running back at the high school level. I'm just excited for him. It's like you said, always good to keep hometown kids around. It's going to be great, hopefully, with the St. X boys.
Yeah, well, another hometown.
Hopefully
kid.
Hopefully not too great for them on the year. I hope they all have individual. This is what I'm going to say. I hope he has like a dozen tackles, 300 rushing yards, 1,000. I can't even say that. My D coordinator listens to this podcast. He's going to text me and be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Well, I'll throw a life raft out to you and I'll save you. I'll talk about the other half of this duo from St. X, Karsten Busch. A 3-star linebacker, versatile kid. Like we talked about it before, like he could probably line up at an interior if we wanted to use him there. He could line up at that Leo spot if we use him. Watching his tape, I think I like him better at Leo, but love this kid for a couple of reasons. One, super high motor. Doesn't give up on plays, always incredibly aggressive in pursuit. He's not going to stop until he chases down the ball carrier or the whistle blows. And when it comes to linebackers, I think that's probably my favorite trait for them to have, just hyper-aggressive motor.
This kid has great size as well. Being able to see both these kids in person is really fun. I would encourage both of y'all to get out and watch, preferably the St. X Trinity game, so you can watch a real football team. But the kid, if you just look at the pictures of him, like he is built like he need just like 5-10 more pounds, and the kid's like ready to play, maybe 10-15. But I love the way he shoots gaps on defense. You mentioned him playing that Leo spot, Keith, but I'm like, man, if he can figure out how to use that size and go on the inside, that will be an extremely big problem because he covers a lot of fucking ground. When you watch him play for St. X, it is truly sideline to sideline, and I mean, he stands out, and anytime a kid stands out in that uniform, it definitely takes notice and pops a little bit more than everybody else. So
Yeah. Well, the reason I say I really like him at Leo is he is a physical player, and
yeah,
in his highlight tapes and just watching him play, you'll see so many times there will be a pulling guard or a pulling tackle that's trying to make room on a run play, and he will just blow that poor O lineman up.
it's so
And
funny to watch.
I love seeing it as someone who's like, oh yeah, he's coming to Louisville, but as an O lineman, it makes me sad just seeing my brethren get blown up like that.
It's like we mentioned with the running back. It's what this kid's supposed to look like that whenever he's playing lesser schools than St. X and Trinity. Essentially, it's like you're supposed to make it look like this. So I mean, seeing him not take plays off, I know their coaching staff isn't going to let him loaf around and BS around in the weight room, and like the kid's going to get better this year. Both of them will, and that's the most exciting part about these two grads is they're only just scratching the surface of what they can actually do in a football uniform. So
yeah. Well, I got to make it up to myself now. So we're going to take a trip south and we're going to go talk about a couple of Florida kids. First one, Joel Irvin. He was a 3-star kid out of Fort Myers, 6'6", 280 pounds as a high school junior. And he was at one of the open practices at spring ball. I think they might be short selling him. That kid is huge.
Pat Kelsey's wondering if he's got any eligibility to play basketball right now for the NCAA tournament. I mean, Louisville could potentially use a big man to go guard Kalkbrenner at Creighton, and Joel Irvin could fit the bill for that.
Yeah. Had offers from every P4 school in Florida, had an offer from Georgia, Colorado, like has been recruiting at a pretty damn high level. He's coming to Louisville, and not only is he friggin' huge, he pretty damn mobile for his size too. He does a great job like chipping, getting to the second level, screen plays, getting out in the open field, getting engaged with a block, and he plays nasty. He finishes plays. He'll run guys off to the sidelines, then chuck them to the ground. He'll run guys 30 yards downfield when the plays go in the complete opposite way, just because he wants to take a guy and he wants to bury them. That is my favorite trait to see in an offensive lineman, and I absolutely love this kid's tape. Excited to see this kid come in and get a shot at developing and growing into a mean offensive tackle. Like, this is Mekhi Becton size we're talking about.
I absolutely love when Keith gets this juiced about offensive linemen. I mean, the only thing I have to say about him is it doesn't look like it's a sloppy fat, like bigness of him either. You can cut that fat part. He's not fat. He's not. I'm
not fat. Right. I'm fat. Right.
I'm
I can
fat,
show you what
not
that
him.
looks like.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, there's a difference between being 300 plus pounds and looking 300 plus pounds and the way he looks. You know, like the kid looks legit, and he also looks like you can put a lot more weight on him, which is very exciting. You mentioned Becton. I would 100% support those. Support that comparison. This kid's fucking huge, man.
Yeah, I would love to know if he hoops. To be quite honest with you, that's always a great sign.
Hey, Mekhi could hoop. They didn't
right.
Take
So
him.
could some of the other guys that have played offensive line. Trevontae Sylvester right now is one that can play ball. Right. We've seen Tafik Thomas a couple years ago. Love when offensive lineman also plays ball. That's a great sign for their athleticism. Well, last one here, Keith. What do we got?
Yeah. Last one, and I think this is the one that a lot of people are going to be really, really excited about. I don't have it in front of me right now. It's either him or Hampton are tied for the top-rated kid in the class right now. 4-star cornerback out of Florida, Jaydin Broadnax, 6'3", 200-pound frame as a corner. He's got like some of the bigger offers he had was Florida, Florida State, Texas A&M, Penn State, Michigan. And this kid, he's a shutdown man-to-man defender. Like he can take away just about any wide receiver you throw at him on the field just because of his size and his length. Like he's able to shut guys down. Needs a little bit of polish in the zone game, but this is a kid we might only see at Louisville for 3 years because he's got that kind of NFL potential. Electric player that I'm really excited once he gets on campus.
He reminds me a lot of a guy named Anthony Johnson. I don't know if you guys remember him from Satterfield back in the day. I think he has a very similar game to him. Obviously, AJ didn't pan out the way that he thought he was. He ended up on an NFL roster for a hot little second and still playing some football somewhere. But, I mean, this kid has a real opportunity to come in with our DB's coach to just take off. Like, this kid has 3-year size written all over him, 3-year ability written all over him. It's just whether or not he can come in. Anybody can play man-to-man, but can you anticipate, do you really understand the corner position and defense as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, he's got all the intangibles that you look for, and when you combine that with the recent run of success at corner and particularly with Steve Ellis here of late, you feel confident that he can develop here
Dude,
as long as he does all the right things. Right, exactly.
Could you not, I would
love a good coach like that. Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm right there with you. And every corner that has played for him at Louisville has said as much. So exciting days ahead for Louisville football as they continue to kind of stock the portal or stock the roster full of high school guys who are going to be capable contributors essentially right away. So Keith has been begging for them to start recruiting, and Coach Brohm and the recruiting staff has clearly listened. So thank you all for tuning into the show, Keith. Your hard hours of talking recruiting have not gone unrecognized, my friend. So
I lay down my sword.
That's right. Gave it all for the bill. That's right. All right, let's move on here into off-season talk. Not a lot going on the field right now, at least that we can see and break down. So we're relying on some of the other headlines to keep us full right now from a content cookie jar type perspective. So we're gonna roll out a new segment here called "What Are You Talking About?" And I was just gonna whip around college football. And give you an idea of where each of our heads at is what has got our attention in college football. So Keith, my friend, what are you talking about?
All right, so what I'll be talking about is a little bit of last week's news, but it was something that popped up and I wanted to discuss because you'll see it being mentioned all throughout and very passively. But the ACC settling their lawsuit with Florida with Florida State and Clemson. The very, very, very spark notes details of it is that the ACC was trying to tell Florida State and Clemson that if they wanted to get out before the 2026 or 2036 expiration of their TV contract, they were going to have to pay $572 million. Not going to fly. So,
Vince, you got that right in your checking account, right?
Let me call Tyson Chicken Nugget up real quick.
So the case was filed in many states and it didn't get thrown out immediately. So that prompted the ACC to sort of take some action, and they ended up settling the case. So some of the results of this settlement are now the new change in how the ACC's conference television payouts are going to work, where 40% of the total payouts to the legacy ACC schools, because Cal, Stanford, SMU, they're all taking either less or no money to be in the league, is going to say untouched as is. But then now you're going to have a allocated portion of money that's going to vary depending on your success in competition. And I believe it's going to be broken out between the main two revenue sports of football and basketball, with football being the higher weighted of the two, as well as TV ratings, time slot champs, as many people dub Florida State. So it's essentially they've finagled a backdoor way to essentially give Florida State and Clemson more money to shut up. And I think, honestly, it's going to help programs like Louisville, who are good at both sports, especially now that basketball's back. Football seems to be on the rise, and everything you see when it comes to football TV ratings that the Florida State propaganda puts out, you always see Louisville as like that third, fourth, fifth team with like Miami, North Carolina, and whomever. So the other part of the settlement is now the buyout dropping significantly. So dropping from that $572 million total. So once we get to the year 2030, the buyout total is going to drop to $75 million. Still a pretty chunk, but
that's a Kenny Payne level buyout right there, man.
So, and because of that, of course, it leads to the speculation, oh, the ACC's going to blow up in 2030. Get your ducks in a row. Get ready. And while it might be possible that Florida State and Clemson try to buy their way out of the league, who knows if they're even going to have a dance partner at that point, because the ACC TV deal, especially with the ESPN extension until 2036, it already pays more than the Big 12. So unless you're going to get an invite from the Big 10 or the SEC, it doesn't make sense for you to leave. And even if you do get an invite from those leagues, are they going to offer you enough of a share when you first join the league to make it worthwhile? Because unless you are an absurdly hot commodity, you're not going to get paid a full member share when you first sign up, because that's never how things work.
Right. You're probably going to have to take a pay cut in reality, right? Like that's what we've seen SMU do. Like these teams that have moved up to a conference where they're essentially saying we are not worthy, right? We are just thankful to be here. We'll, clean your shoes at the door if you let us in, right? Like there's a penalty over there.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and how this sort of shakes out for Louisville is it kind of puts us in a weird spot, because I very seriously doubt the school to the east is ever going to let us jump into the SEC. They will lobby and piss and moan and do whatever to keep us out, as rivals tend to do. And then, of course, the academics standing in the Big Ten. Who knows if they'll ever even give us? So really, Louisville...
Nope. Not with me and Vince's transcripts still in the system. Not a shot. Right. We had an A in effort. That's right.
So while TV Ted is terrible, and while there are a lot of commentary teams that we don't like, I think you better get comfortable at least until 2036, because fiscally it would not make sense for Louisville to leave, because even if Clemson and Florida State do, unless over half of the league bails out, we got that ESPN money coming in, and the more members that leave without the contract falling apart, great, that's more money for us. And then we get to split the pot on those buyouts for the teams like Florida State, Clemson, maybe Miami or North Carolina that do leave early.
System to where every year the team at the bottom, we get to split up their funds and we get to kick them, demote them, soccer style, right? Send them to the freaking to the WAC or something.
Hey, give me the Big East so we can just win that conference and get an automatic bid every year. And everybody acts like they'd be all disappointed with an easier conference and an automatic bid to the college football playoffs every single season.
So I don't necessarily think so. That's where I sort of think this ends. Either the ACC gets their shit together in 2036 and we stay together for the kids, or Tobacco Road pisses off too many schools, and you see a Louisville, you see a Georgia Tech, you see a Pittsburgh, you see a Syracuse. Maybe they try to gather up some people outside of Tobacco. NC State, you're cool. You can come too. Gather up some people, and then that's a pretty solid league. Maybe you pitch the idea, because Big 12's TV contract will be up as well. West Virginia, UCF, Cincinnati, and you do try to patch together some amalgamation of the old Metro, Virginia Tech, or the old Big East Conference into something new.
Memphis, and I have a long shot for you here on the football side. Liberty.
Let's do it.
Liberty.
Man,
that's another school I would look at adding to the footprint. I know we're still a few years away from that, but Liberty is.
Oh, they've got the money.
Look at for basketball, long term, not right now, but basketball and football.
Oh, they've got the other money, but I just don't want a team that's just gonna sit and watch the rest of the league have success like Liberty's known to do and enjoy. So
that is true.
No, so to put a bow on it, Louisville talking conference realignment. It's fun. It's exciting. We got another decade probably before we're doing that.
All right. We'll check back in 10 years around the ACC in 15 minutes with Keith. In 15 years, check back. All right, Vince, what are you talking about, man?
Oh, I got the juicy one for us. I mean, this has been one. You guys know I'm very deep into TikTok. Mm-hmm. I watch it all the time. And
spill the tea.
I mean, it's come across my feed. It's definitely made it across your alls in Twitter, Instagram. Mm-hmm. MySpace, I'm sure you still use that, Keith.
Yep.
So,
AOL Messenger.
But Carson Beck, our buddy down at Miami, is going through it right now. Is he going through it, or nobody really knows if he's actually going through it?
Right.
Obviously, goes to Miami for the money. Definitely not because he is dating Hannah Cavender. Okay. They're the NIL couple, the feature NIL. They're the poster couple for everything Miami. And you can already see the football and women's basketball posters that Miami is going to be selling with these two fuckers on the front and everything. It's going to be great. I just love downfalls of Miami. And this relationship is juicy. I'm into it, man. I'm into it. I don't care. Shoot me.
Yeah.
But Beck, in February, cars get stolen whenever he's staying the night at Cavender's.
Yeah.
So there's one just already this sucks.
Juicy headline, right? The
Ghost
car
in that-
headlines, you couldn't write it any better for a Georgia guy, right?
I mean, it gets better. Yeah. What the hell? I thought I could leave my car unlocked down here. No, Carson, this is Miami. What are you doing? There's a garage right there. What do you mean you had 2 cars parked in the driveway? That's what I would have said as the cop. But he goes to Nashville, trip with the other twins, dating somebody who's big on Instagram and stuff. They're not as important. But Snapchat gets posted Carson Beck over here looking on his phone, and he's wearing this hat, like similar shape tanness is to me, right? And he gets caught taking this. He's just looking like he's texting his buddies. Could be texting some other woman, but he's over here. The picture's taken. Days come out later. Cabinet just scrubbed all of Beck's everything. He's off Instagram. He's off Twitter. He's off all, like, they're clearly going through some kind of breakup. And then she has to release a video. And it seems like one of those little something happened. There's something in the back end going on here. And it comes to find out Carson Beck. So
True love is dead.
Yes. Is it dead, or did he realize she's a Miami 6?
If you... don't do it on a work computer, but if you look up Carson Beck's Snapchat history,
that's what he got caught on, man. And he's wearing the same hat.
He has tendencies to be not very tactful with his flirtatious advances, regardless of his relationship status.
Right. He took a page out of the Draymond Green Snapchat book, if you are catching my drift. From
I mean, the woman, I'm getting all this from obviously like BuzzFeed articles and shit. So,
right? The sleuths, right.
Exactly. I'm deep into it. It came out that, he said that they broke up to the woman. He did the classic, let me just bold-face lie straight to this other girl's face while I have a girlfriend. And it's like, you're Carson Beck. You can't just do that.
Right. That's like the married
and you don't look good enough to do that either. That's the other thing about Carson Beck is Carson Beck is not good looking enough to be trying this shit with no.
D1 starting quarterback has turned a lot of 5s into hard 8s. So
that's right. But you call her a Miami 6. I mean, he's a Miami 3 at best. I mean, and nobody ever accused him of being high on the IQ scale. So, you kind of get what you get there, and you don't throw a fit.
I mean, he looked like in the video, the police cam video, body cam video of Carson Beck, like he looked like a soft ass. Like, that's not a guy I want leading my football program. So, for me, I want him. There's all my fucking cars. There's all this fucking money. And I would have been going crazy. The fact that he's just sitting there like, oh yeah, my cars.
So now, Vince, Jacob, this raises an important question because Carson has already fully embraced the Miami culture, has only been down there a few months, already gotten Lamborghini stolen, cheated and broken up with his girlfriend. Is that going to make him better or worse as a quarterback for the Canes? Because we all talked about it when he first committed, and we're like, oh, I'm not worried about this at all. Is this going to give him that Miami hard-nosed edge?
Worse, can't make a decision.
Yeah, see, I could go either way with this, right? Because some are saying that he might be the greatest Miami quarterback ever because of these
if he gets her back, yes.
If he gets her back, I think that the thing you have to understand is that Carson made a decision. Okay. Carson got to Miami, and the things that Carson had seen on his phone previously, he saw in real life, and there was an element of irresistibleness that he couldn't withhold.
Said,
it's like a Georgia.
This is a GTA 5.
Yeah, it's like a Georgia wide receiver wanting to speed on the highway. Like it's just there's just an attraction that he just. But I've envisioned him like the character. Oh man, I'm blanking on the movie, and I'm showing my whiteness.
Scarface,
right now.
Tony Montana,
Hustle and Flow, right? The little like skinny white dude who is exposed to. If you've ever seen the movie Hustle and Flow, I think that's what I'm talking about, right? With Terrence Howard, right?
Okay. Did you say you're about to show your?
Yeah,
you mumbled that. Yeah, I'm definitely showing mine.
It's an iconic rap movie. Yeah, and here I am trying to spit the facts, and I can't keep it straight. But yeah, Carson Beck going full Miami very quickly there, guys. What do we expect? $8 million goes a long way.
This is another thing. Whenever Beck inevitably flops, gets replaced like halfway through the year, Cristobal gets fired, do you think Cavanagh is going to put out like a cryptic, like, you know, how like a 4-line, like
Where
you
Cam
get, like,
Newton font.
like Fault in Our Stars, like type message going on
I don't know,
Instagram
man.
story, like why you
we're
can't make
teetering
decisions.
on potentially getting the greatest on-3 graphic of all time with their relationship. I mean, at this
Dumped.
right. We're waiting for something here. All right, last one here. Since you asked, what am I talking about? I think, guys, right now we are seeing potentially, now it could be all smoke here, but I think we're seeing potentially the change of the guard in spring football. Leave it to me to bring the serious football topic to this conversation here, right? This week, I don't know if you guys have been following in the news. Really today, this has gone viral. Coach Deion Sanders at Colorado, who, as you guys know, he shies away from the headlines. I mean, this is a guy that wants nothing to do with the media. You know, it's Charlie Strong at Texas vibes with him, right? But in this media session where they had to pull his teeth to get a quote, Deion Sanders goes on the record. And what I think is honestly a very interesting conversation and something that's been talked about for a long time, that is revisiting what is spring football. Went on the record today speaking to Colorado media and told them that he wants to change spring football in Boulder and essentially wants to look at this and style this as the way that the pros do during preseason, where teams come into town, they practice in joint practices for 3 days and then participate in a game. And so that is what Deion Sanders is suggesting for spring football, is obviously going through the cycle of having practices, but instead of playing yourself in this kind of inter squad scrimmage, bring an opponent in. And I know Mark Blankenbaker for years has talked about playing the FCS games during spring. Play a Murray State, play a Morehead State, play a Kentucky State, play somebody around you as an opponent, just to bring some life into that game and make it you versus somebody else. But I think Deion Sanders here, putting that out there, definitely has gotten some attention today. In fact, Colorado's coach Fran Brown says we'll be there for 4 days. We'll come to town, we'll practice, and then we'll play. The NCAA bylaws currently do not allow that, but you know what I have to say to that, guys? Fuck the NCAA. That's what I have to say.
That's
play
why we're
opponents
saying
Looking like
in
a
that.
spring
true
football.
Louisville fan.
Let's play spring football against opponents. What do you guys think? I think that's an absolutely fantastic idea. Regionally against an Indiana, obviously not a Kentucky. I don't want to go through that in the spring.
Yeah.
But regionally, there's a lot of opportunities of teams that you could play. These secret scrimmages, we see them in basketball leading up to the season. I love this idea.
So I like the idea of it, but my hesitations are the following. First off, what are you going to do when a dickhead on one team dirty hit and injures another kid on a different team? Like, star wide receiver gets headhunted in a spring ball joint practice, which results in a massive kerfuffle. So you'll never see something like that happen again if that were to happen. And then you also have, I think it's a great idea for lack of a better term, like tier 2 and tier 3 program, like a Syracuse, like a Colorado, like a Mizzou, Kansas, Louisville, because it gets you an opportunity for more exposure, because this is a very novel concept. 2 teams playing a game. Games generate a ton of revenue on TV, as we've seen through this conference realignment nightmare. Would teams like Oregon or Ohio State or Notre Dame, the college football blue bloods, I feel like that's not something they would ever want to participate in, because once you get to that level, like, it gets on borderline insanity with trying to keep things secret and keep things under the hood. I mean, shit, look at the whole Connor Stallion saga. Like, something every team did turns into a major lawsuit because he's like putting on disguises of MAC teams to try and get signals. Like,
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. I'll add that in.
Make sure you, that A
You'd
word.
be the type to be like, what'd they say on this Louisville podcast? Sue.
I think it's a very, very, very entertaining concept. And I do love ideas. Maybe not necessarily like an actual game, but like how Ole Miss does their spring game, where it's sort of like the Pro Bowl, where you're doing like football related events. Like a joint one of those, I think that'd be fun as hell.
If they play dodgeball, I'm gonna jump off the Second Street Bridge. If they
tore
play
my
dodgeball
ACL
in the middle of
tore my
spring football,
ACL
I'd quit.
playing dodgeball.
I'm thinking like old
go
school,
watch
like
baseball.
quarterback club. Like, oh, okay, we're 30 yards out. Who can drop it in this target in the corner of the end zone the most? Long throw. What quarterback can chuck it the farthest? Agility course challenges for the running backs and wide receivers. Like, there's a lot of fun skill showcase stuff that you can do that doesn't involve contact and risk of injury. And also, as players, you best believe players would be sitting out the end of those joint practices like, nah, I ain't gonna play in this game and get hurt. Got to collectively bargain that, baby.
Maybe,
Yeah.
but they also could say, if I play well in this game, I can hit that portal and go get a bag in that second window. You just never know. There's a lot of different ways to look at it. As of now, it's illegal, right? I mean, that's not stopped North Carolina from not going to class, and it may not stop teams here, right? But I'd certainly not in the fold right now. I just think it's a very novel idea. That's now, as a guy who's been hurt twice, give us your official take on this. As I think you can comment on that.
Like, injuries are going to happen regardless. I mean, you mentioned dodgeball. I'm going to quit if they do, or I'm going to quit if they start playing. Like, we did play dodgeball one time, and I still almost tore my ACL picking up a dodgeball.
That's fine, but if you bring me to Cardinal Stadium and you play dodgeball,
all I'm saying is it's never going to be good.
Yeah.
Is what people need to realize. Is this spring football? You can try and jazz it up, whatever you want to do with it. People are never going to fully enjoy it because it's not a game, and you don't have a game the following week, and we're not really playing for anything. Same reason players hate it, because we're not doing anything for anything. We're out there, yes, getting better, but like, what are we really accomplishing whenever it comes to prep, going to beat our next opponent? For me, when it comes to these joint practices, how many times a year do we see clips of NFL teams fighting?
A lot.
Fighting guys.
I know for a fact that
So does Kenny Payne.
I love our guys to death, but I doubt, and this goes for every team in the country. Keith mentions the knuckleheads. I would even go as far as say as the starters and stuff.
Especially like 18 to 23-year-old dudes where you're at the most hot-headed in your life that you're ever going to be.
Well, you got somebody like me. Think about me as a freshman. I just came off being, I'm a walk-on. I redshirted this entire year, just got my ass kicked in the entire season on scout team, which was fine. You accept your role, but come spring, you want to prove something. There's not as many as the scholarship football players are here in the spring as they will be for fall camp. So make sure the coaches know your name and know who you are now. Anybody comes across the middle, if I'm playing linebacker, I'm taking your fucking head off. I'm not getting flat. I'm not sitting out another quarter for a targeting on this.
What's the problem here? This sounds like great football, guys. I mean, I'm trying to identify where the challenge
it is, but I'm saying
like
there's a lot more of an opportunity of some dude to get hurt, bad hurt, because they get hit by a knucklehead walk-on like myself, who's trying to prove something. Yeah, like who's trying to get their scholarship.
The Georgia walk-on, right? The one that stepped onto the field accidentally and got the penalty,
just
right?
like
that
stupid.
kind of guy.
I knew where that line was. I guarantee you that. I promise you that much. That's ridiculous. There's little things on there like, don't be that guy. And it's like, it doesn't matter how crazy the game gets. Like, you're just never that guy. And he was that guy.
Yeah. All right. Well, that will wrap up. What are you talking about? So I look around some of our favorite stories in the world of college football. And now let's move into the grand finale here. This is the cherry on top. If you made it this far into the show, you are about to encounter some of probably what I would say will be some of the funniest moments on the show, because I am expecting this to go one way in my head. We'll see if this is the way that it goes. But tonight we are introducing a game that I've been wanting to play for a long time, and finally got a few minutes in my day today to build it and make it happen. And so we are here. That's right. No, I'm not. I had time today. That's right. So tonight we introduce our version of who he play for, where they play at. And as you guys know, the transfer portal has been a revolving door of guys in and out of the program since 2021. I think Louisville has had at least 20 guys transfer each of the last 2 years, and that number is close to almost to 60 over the last 3. So that has been a revolving door for Louisville football. Now, there have certainly been a ton of guys that have come in, but we've seen 1-year guys, we've seen multiple-year guys, we've seen high school players
before you
leave.
keep going, Jacob. This in year 1 of this whole portal thing, when Sat and them came in, they used that as like leverage over our heads, as like, you guys are the only ones that's strong to survive, blah, blah, blah. 20-something guys transferred out of here before that became the norm and everything.
I believe it. But no longer is that something that can get you up downs. Now it'll get you NIL money. So big turn of events here. So here's the premise of this game, okay? As I mentioned, there's been a lot of guys that have played for Louisville. And if you've not kept up with the roster, it can be really easy to lose sight of where those guys have gone on to play the rest of their careers. And so tonight, I'm your host for Where They Play At, and our contestants are here right in front of me, one producer Keith and Vince Lococo. And tonight we're going to quiz them on where our beloved former Cardinals have gone on to. Now, some of them have had multiple stops, and so it will be up to them to identify the latest stop up to this portal window.
We're about to get exposed as frauds bad.
Up to this portal window?
Up to this portal window.
yes,
There will
so
be
fun.
guys on this list that have just recently left as well. So here's how we're going to do this. We're going to have 5 rounds. It's going to be Vince versus Keith. We'll have a couple of warm-up rounds to get your brain flowing here. But at the end of this, we will crown the guy that knows Louisville's transfer portal roster the best. And that is bragging rights around here that is very coveted. That may sound like it's nothing.
Yeah, right.
But we all in our group text just brag about how much we know. We just name random players and where they went to college.
Not
So here we go, guys. Warming up. I'm going to give you the first round of warm-ups here. Keith, we'll start with you. Kenai Walker, where they play at?
Jesus, that.
I got option 1. I don't think I have option 2. That's for sure.
I'm going to go with Georgia State.
Oh, man. This is getting on to a great start. Vince, what do you got? Kenai Walker.
I know he went from Louisville to Oklahoma. I know that
Okay.
much.
All right. So Vince technically would be the closest there. He did play at
Can we go with closest if we don't know like the second?
No, we're not getting a point for that. That's not how this game works here. He is now a member of the Arkansas football program after transferring this offseason.
Wow.
Okay. All right. Warm up round number 2. Vince, we'll start with you here.
Warm.
Ben Perry. Where they play at? Ben Perry.
What the hell?
Cal.
Oh, man.
UCLA.
Oh, I knew it was one of those West Coast ones. That's bullshit. You know I don't acknowledge Pac-12 football. That is bullshit. That is so bullshit.
That's Big Ten football now, baby.
Not in my
There you
brain.
go.
Not in my
Okay.
brain. It's still the Staples Center in my head, Keith.
Well, we're still getting warmed up here, so it's okay. No points on the board yet. We're just flexing our muscles here. Last one.
like SpongeBob.
Caleb Banks. Where they play at? Caleb Banks. Vince, get off your phone. Caleb Banks.
Can we
Oh,
get,
God. No, I was thinking of Caleb Johnson. Crap.
He has stayed at the same school his entirety of his career post Louisville.
Mississippi State.
I was just about to say Mississippi State.
Florida.
Okay.
All right. Here we go. We're
Man,
off to a roaring
we're gonna
start.
get
We got
cooked.
one correct here. So we will go to round 1. I don't have much confidence. I really thought that I would.
You saw the bonus and we're like, oh, these will be
Yeah.
easy for these guys.
So round 1. William Foles, former 4-star receiver, played sparingly for Louisville.
Buzz.
Keith?
App State.
There we go. Ding, 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 ding. Keith gets the first point. He transferred to App State. I was going to say, on the show, Allen Houston once indicated that he was the best hooper on Louisville's roster, if you listened to that episode a couple years ago. How about that? All right, round 2. Popeye Williams.
Oh, man.
I just want Vince to guess. Can you just
Toledo?
No, that's right conference.
He's Mac.
Close.
I know it was Mac, right?
Yeah, wrong team.
Western
Central
Michigan.
Central Michigan.
Western Michigan. There we
Western
go.
Michigan.
There we go. All right. I am coming with you with the Tim Wakefield knuckleball right here with this one. We're going from a player that had played recently, was a really highly rated recruit, to a guy who was the last signee, I believe, in the class of 2021. So where they play at? Marquis Lowry, cornerback. Where they play at?
He was at USC last. I know that much. I don't know. I was just checking his Twitter a couple months ago. I can't remember where he's at after that.
What are the odds? You know what? I'm just going to throw a
Michigan
dart.
State. Michigan State. I was thinking of Greedy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Greedy. That is correct. Greedy Vance was at USC.
But Marquis Lowry's in Michigan State.
Okay, that is incorrect.
What the fuck? Did he transfer again?
He did transfer again.
All right.
Oh, my God.
I've got no idea, so I'm just going to take a shot in the dark. The UL Monroe Warhawks.
Oh, that's a good guess. No, he is at South Dakota currently. South Dakota.
He's a coyote.
I love
All right,
his game.
so
too.
no one
That
gets
kid
the
was
point
good in
there.
Practice.
Oh, my internet's going in and out here. Okay, here we go. We're back. You guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, your host lost.
Marquis was,
Oh, yeah, loud and
Marquis
clear.
was
You're
good
good.
at practice. That's all I was saying.
Yeah, went on and played well at Michigan State. Okay, round 4. This one's another recent player. Kevin Coleman. Where does Kevin Coleman play at, Keith?
There were 2.
Abilene Christian.
No.
That's always the name that pops up first on college football whenever you're picking.
I know he went to Mississippi State. I think he
did.
entered the portal, but then
did.
went back to Mississippi State.
Ooh, Vince, do you have a SEC school? Do you have a guess?
No divisions anymore, Jacob. Come on.
Oh, come on.
They're in the western portion of the conference, if you will.
Ole Miss.
Missouri. But close. Close. Good guess.
Oh, I thought he jumped in the portal, jumped back in. Did he jump back in the portal again?
According to his roster listing for 2025, that is correct. Okay, here we go. Round 5. Don't think we're getting to the bonus round here, so we'll save those for another time. The last one, another guy, Vince, that you're familiar with here. So I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
We called him Agent Zero, Derek Edwards. Where does he play at?
He was at Charlotte.
Shout out to Vince. Look at that.
Yes.
Vince gets it on the first try. That's great. Okay,
Love
Vince,
that
I'm going to
kid.
give you 2 more here. 2 more guys that you were with. Braylon Oliver. Do you know where Braylon Oliver is at now?
Florida A&M.
Shit. Vince
The Rattlers.
Vince is back.
I know
Kobe
these are kids.
Baines. Last one, Kobe Baines. We mentioned the name of his school earlier before we started recording. And I mentioned that their program is also not real.
Not sure. That's
Kansas. Not too
Braylon.
far off in terms of talent of the football team.
I thought you were going to say in terms of being an HBCU.
Funny. I didn't.
Everybody always says if you want to go to an HBCU, go to Kansas, man. All right, well that will do it. That was fun.
Who won? Did I win?
No, you did not. It was 3-1, and
Two.
I lost count.
Two.
Well, the last
Two.
ones were.
What's up with the bonus? Usually you get extra points with bonus.
Well, I guess you're right.
Well,
yeah.
they were your
Who
teammates.
set this rule system? This is ridiculous.
Well, to get to the bonus, you gotta both be close. It was you were getting.
That's not
skunked,
true.
man.
Every test I've ever taken, I have the option to do the bonus. The teacher tells me. And when I don't do it, I get ridiculed. So I chose to do it this time, and you're telling me it doesn't count.
Yeah, well, all right. If that's the case, you got 2 extra points, so 3-2. Congrats.
That's
fell
fair.
by
At least
one.
make it look respectable.
It's respectable, man. But shout out to you guys, where they play at. If you've got any former players that you want to throw into the mix here, comment them below here on the YouTube channel. Let us know. This will not be the last time we play this. This will be a recurring segment over the years to come because, as we know, the portal never stops. So, that being said, gentlemen, it's been an honor to get to talk football with you guys. Vince, I've talked more basketball with you in the last week than I probably ever will in my entire lifetime. So thank you for that. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast anywhere that you get your shows from, whether that be Apple, Spotify, iHeart, etc. Subscribe to the show on YouTube at The State of Lou. Follow us at Pink Seats Pod.
Hey, what are you doing Thursday?
What are we doing Thursday? Gonna be
Plug yourself, bud.
I don't think the people want that.
Hey,
man.
yo.
I mean, if they stay for an hour and 10 minutes, they may. But as of now, the plan is for a live show ahead of Louisville's basketball. I'm going to make sure I emphasize that. First round matchup against Creighton down in Lexington. A live show from one of the State of Louisville sister shows, if you will, starting 5:02. We will be coming to you hopefully in the next couple of days with an official announcement on location and time, but it will be myself, Presley Meyer, as well as some of our friends from Floyd Street Media and hopefully some other guests. Vince Lococo rumored to be in the house.
Plan on it as long as the boss man lets me.
There we go. If you're in Lexington, come out and check us out. Subscribe to the State of Louisville and turn on those notifications so that you know. Yeah, you're right there behind Keith. There you go. And as I mentioned, follow us on Twitter at Pink Seats Pod, and we will catch you next time talking more football as we come back from live practices for the folks getting out there to watch that after close practices. So there you go. We will see you next time. And until then, ladies and gentlemen, go Cards.